Hey everyone, I'm Matt. Here to talk about this fun new thing called dark mode. So we finally got dark mode, but not on iOS though. All these people that sort of love mobile devices, you'll have to wait a little bit for dark mode. Maybe September, maybe next year, we'll wait and see. So what is dark mode? Dark mode is a changing of the UI appearance to be dark. Now, pretty self-explanatory, but when I say dark, there is no meaning of just an inversion of the colors. White doesn't become black, black doesn't become white. What happens is the appearance of your app changes to a darker theme. So as a result, instead of sort of having the Chrome or the UI elements of your app being the focus, what actually becomes the focus is the content you're working on. So a lot of creatives tend to enjoy this, where they can sort of put aside all of the controls and stuff like that and just focus on what they're working on. As developers, we can do the same, where in our text editors, we will have a dark theme for all of the text, and that's pretty good. One of my favorites for Xcode was Civic from 2016, that one. Almost said 96 for some reason. Weird. So yeah, that's sort of what happens with dark mode. Now, dark mode was recently announced. It was announced last week at WWDC, and there are just a few resources available at the moment. Particularly the best resources are the WW videos themselves, so the introducing dark mode and advanced dark mode are really, really good. They contain pretty much the main set of documentation available at the moment. There's also what's new in Cocoa for Mac OS, and the HIG, which we should all be really familiar with, and I know I'm particularly not, is a really good resource. So with dark mode, a lot of it focuses on the design. So as I said before, white doesn't become black, black doesn't become white. There's a focus on the content. We're not flipping or inverting colors. And the big thing to take note of is if you use the standard macOS system controls, you will get a fairly cohesive transition to dark mode. So macOS will take care of a lot of the changes from a light appearance to a dark appearance. And it's probably also a very good idea for iOS apps at the moment, knowing that dark mode is probably highly guaranteed almost to happen. It's not guaranteed. We know that nothing is guaranteed, but if you look at, say, all of their apps like news and stuff that they've brought over from iOS to macOS, they now support a dark mode. So,
and if you actually look at the API diffs for iOS 12, the dark mode constants are there in the latest iOS beta.
Yeah. Nothing is confirmed. But as I said, there is a high likelihood that it may happen. And if you use all of the standard things with AppKit or UIKit, you will likely save yourself a lot of trouble when doing the transition. So, dark mode. It's fairly easy to enable, and it is the future. You'll probably have initially a high intake of people getting dark mode, going, yay, this new thing, it's fancy, it's cool, it looks edgy and stuff like that, without sort of going, is this the right thing for my app? But It's going to be there and your apps will need to support it. Now, there are ways of opting out of dark mode, but if everything else is dark in your OS and your app is this horrid thing that is just light and pretty much a stark contrast to everything, it's not going to provide a good user experience. So particularly macOS app developers need to put a lot of effort into supporting dark mode at the moment. As I said, system controls and components make it really easy. If you're doing weird custom-y stuff, then hey, you're going to have a hard time. Accent colors. So there's, as well as changing from a light appearance to a dark appearance, there's now an extended range of these things called accent colors. Now, accent colors are sort of the borders around controls or sort of the highlight color that the OS will use to show that something sort of needs action or something like that. My favorite is pink because pink is awesome and yeah, just makes everything look cool. So with accent colors, your app again needs to handle the changing between the accent colors. The macOS will take care of a lot of this for you. AppKit will handle it, but you still need to be aware that the user may in fact be changing the accent color while keeping the appearance either dark or light, which is pretty cool. The asset catalog. I'm sort of giving random bits and pieces of info here, just different bits that I found useful. So those resources at the start are the main ones that you would look at. They provide a lot more content. This is a short lightning talk. Short. It's hard for me to not talk for an hour on something. So asset catalogs. Asset catalogs now give you the option of not only specifying your main sort of appearance, but also specifying differences in colors for dark and light as well. And you can also sort of do a few other modifications in there. So the reason for using asset catalogs is it gives you a name to a particular color. So if you, say, had a title color and you wanted all of your big headings in a macOS app, don't know why you'd want to do that, to be of a particular color and handle the transition from light to dark fairly well, this is how you would do it. You would set up an asset in the asset catalogs and then either in IB or in code reference this. It's pretty cool, saves you a lot of trouble.
Hey Matt, does the asset catalog work with the accent colors as well?
Not 100% sure.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Yeah. Not sure if it works with accent colors. Yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Like if you've got a big copy of your image, icon image, for example, you want to reference that as the accent color.
Can you assign all the symbolic colors to a swatch and asset color?
Not 100% sure.
Yeah. Seems possible.
Yep. Anyway, moving on. One of the really good things that has been out in AppKit and UIKit for a while is this thing called visual effect views. So in a macOS app, typical thing is to have a sidebar, and that sidebar has a sort of semi-translucent, opaque background to it. Same with the title bar, that has a particular sort of tint and behavior to it. All of this is done through visual effect views. So at the moment in High Sierra and before these are the particular materials you can use, stuff like title bar, selection menu, popover, sidebar, all of the fairly standard ones. Now, the good thing is with Mojave and 10.14, you get a whole heap of new ones, which make supporting dark mode fairly straightforward, fairly easy. So with dark mode and visual effect views, those views actually switch really well between a light and a dark appearance. As long as you're using a visual effect view, you can actually have that transition fairly well. So if you say you wanted a particular view to have a solid background, you could use something like content background. Now, in a light theme, that would be a white content background. In a dark theme, it would be an almost black content background. So stuff like that makes it really, really easy to use. As I've said before, it's pretty much magic. As long as you're using Apple's standard controls, you will be able to get away with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff will be provided for you. You don't have to make too many changes. The big thing is make sure you test it out. Make sure you jump on the betas, you download Xcode 10, and you go through the process of making sure your app behaves as you would expect. You don't have to have the most perfect dark mode design there yet, but you'll probably find stuff like if you're using a different font or a different font color, these things will start to look out of place. Backwards compatibility is something we need to think about. People don't update Mac OS as often as they do iOS, so hey, keep it as a consideration. Any questions? Yep. I had some fun moving that across to dark mode, found a lot of things where I was doing stuff pretty wrong. Yeah.
What kind of things did you catch that made it hard?
So some of, like, it was sort of things that I didn't know would transition by themselves. So using stuff like the standard text colors, they sort of transition from light to dark, whereas I was hard coding a particular background color. So it's stuff like that you need to be aware of.
Do you have to opt into dark mode, or is it automatic?
It's automatic opt-in. You have to opt out if you want.
You're going to opt out?
No. Why would you want to opt out?